Hey guys, HMX Henry here. Still at Warped Tour, still muggier than we would like it to be. With Greg from the Bouncing Souls.
How's it going?
We're here to you know, continue hanging out, shooting the breeze with people within the rock star lifestyle, which is not at all what we do backstage here at Warped
It's
Tour.
not what you think it is. It really isn't.
And we wanted to grab Greg and talk about the Bouncing Soul song "Gasoline" that we have in Rock Band Network. Did you guys have a hand in picking that song? Was that kind of like a group decision?
Kate, our manager, really worked that whole
Yeah.
getting it on Rock Band. I don't know, I guess it was chosen off the new record. It was kind of one of the most popular tunes. I think that's probably why it got in there.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Yeah.
No, it's very cool. Now, would this Kate be Kate of Kate is Great?
Yes.
The one and only?
Yeah, that's right.
I had heard this story for the first time yesterday. I wonder if I could, straight from the source, did you confirm that Kate is great because she would let you sleep in her futon store when you guys did not have a home?
Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, to
That's just
say
the beginning of
why
why Kate is great?
it's just like we could be here all day. And I'm not saying that to kiss your ass, Kate, if you're just watching, because it's true. I mean, she literally is the gel that, much more than that, but like the person that holds Thousand Souls ship on the track, you know, like she holds down the label, she managed to get the song on Rock Band, and she's sometimes our tour manager, does a lot of the accounting, so many things, it takes care of so many things, and that enables us to make music and go on tour. So there's a million reasons why Kate is great.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Back in the day when we worked and made futons in New Brunswick, and Kate was the manager of the store, she was kind of our boss, and then we kind of became her boss, which is kind of funny. And yeah, we sometimes sleep at the futon store. We work late making futons and sometimes back.
That's pretty amazing. So you guys, I mean, hopefully no longer sleeping in futon stores while on the road at Warped Tour.
No, we're actually sleeping in our famous vehicle, the White Castle, which has been on the road since 1996. And right now we're working on trying to get it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, we have a connection, and I think I've met the curator of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm talking about this because I want it to happen.
No, we will do anything we can to help. We'll get it on the Rock Band forums.
Yeah.
We'll get a fan petition going.
Today is all about us taking videotape of things so we can make them happen.
Yes.
Crazy awesome.
We're going to make all sorts of magic happen.
So we talked about it for a couple of years because we played the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when the Warped Tour had it a few years ago. And I talked to him and I was like, we have a vehicle for you. And he was totally open to it. He's like, okay, cool, check it out. I want to see it and tell me more about it. So I'm going to get in touch with him now because the castle is like in its golden years, right?
Yeah.
It's been since '96. Overheated on this tour. We were in the desert in Phoenix for a whole afternoon and night. We watched the sun go down. The moon came up, little animals all over the desert while we waited to get the tow truck to come. Then the next day, after the truck got fixed, 20 minutes later, our U-Haul trailer got stolen.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
So it's been a wild ride.
That was on this Warped Tour?
That was just, I mean, this.
I thought this was like a retrospective.
No, this just happened.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a little taste of the rock and roll life in the Warped Tour.
That's intense, and I mean, you guys are no stranger to the Warped Tour. Like you guys are all stars. You've been around. Do you know how many years this is?
9 years.
9 years. That's amazing. So where does this crop of bands, like how does the crowd this year pan out against compared to 9 years of past history?
I've been asked this question a couple times and I wrestled with it. I was like, what's the difference between now and then kind of thing? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, the spirit of it is the same, and that essence is that there's a whole bunch of different stuff happening all at once, like a pile of different things in here, and all these different types of people and bands and music bumping off each other. And that's the spirit of the Warped Tour. But the huge difference is when we first started out on the Warped Tour, like 97, 96, in that area, we were all the same generation. The biggest bands down to the newest bands were all about the same age. Which made a huge difference. Like, we were all kind of in the same territory, like musically and what was going But now it's like I could be the dad of some of these bands. Like I was walking around one night and I was walking around, I'm like, okay, I think maybe this is how my dad feels like when he comes to my show.
That's fair.
And I was like, but after that, I like felt more at peace with it because I realized like that's how generations work. Like my dad has like his buddies and stuff. They all hang out and they're from their time. And it doesn't mean you're old necessarily. Have your time and your space, and everyone's like frozen that time and space.
Yeah.
And I was just like making that observation, and I completely felt more at peace with it because it's definitely not the Warped Tour that I used to be on. And a lot of people that have been around are like don't feel like as connected to it as we did. And I think that I made it make sense to me. It might be rambling a little bit.
No.
But it's perfect now because these kids have grown up. We were like starting the Warped Tour. It was just starting to happen. These kids like don't know their entire high school career. They have the Warped Tour every summer, which is really cool.
That is pretty amazing.
And then a lot of these kids that are in bands are like, you're the first band I saw on the Warped Tour, or the first time I jumped off the stage into a pit or whatever. It was you guys on the Warped Tour. Now I'm in a band on the Warped Tour. So that's just a wild thing. I never imagined.
Are you getting a lot of that? Like bands, the kind of like the punk rock vanguard, I guess, like you, Real Big Fish, Alkaline Trio, bands that have done Warped Tour year after year. Like a lot of younger bands kind of like turning to you guys for like tips and tricks, advice on what to do?
I think that all just happens. Yeah. And if you just come up to me, just random band, I'm in this band, blah blah blah, we're playing on this stage. I'm a huge fan. Thanks a lot. I get a lot of that.
That's great.
Yeah.
What would you tell someone like if they were coming to Warped Tour either like as a band or as a spectator? What would be kind of like your survival kit? Like what do you absolutely have to have when you go to like a summer show?
You mean coming out to see the show or just being a band playing?
Either one. Either one. Like what do you need to make it through a Warped Tour?
I think I've been asked this question too. What it is to have success as a band, no matter what level, no matter how well you do, take one little step at a time. Like if you get on the Warped Tour, do it as best as you possibly can. If you have the opportunity to record and release something, do it the best you can. But just take one step at a time. That's how the Warped Tour happened. That's how the Bouncing Soul started. We wrote a song, we demoed that song. Then we did a show at a hall, we rented out, someone gave us $100 to rent a sound system. And we did that, we made flyers, and we did that. And you have to enjoy it. Like, if you don't enjoy it, you don't enjoy the people you're around, then just think about why. Is it you? Is it them? And then you go from there.
No, that's really good advice.
It's as simple as that. And like, sometimes I get myself confused. I'm like, well, maybe you can record and then release digital downloads, blah blah blah, make a website. And I'm like, when you break it all down, like I realize it's always the same thing, regardless of the internet, digital download, CDs, buying this, labels that. It's still the same thing. And I've confused myself with this subject, but it still breaks down to the same thing. You don't have to write out your mailing list anymore by hand, and then post them all, and then put them in the mailbox. But now you can, make a mailing list, email it, and all those kind of things, which makes it easier. Do it for fun. Like, don't count the money if it doesn't exist, because it's not gonna exist. Believe me. Very small amount of it. And there's bands out here that are making a ton of money, but most of them aren't. So go for the experience, and then you walk away, and you will not regret it.
That's really cool. We work with a lot of younger up and coming bands. The Rock Band Network is our tool that allows up and coming bands and established bands like the Bouncing Souls to put their own music in Rock Band. And I think that that's something that a lot of these younger bands should definitely hear. A lot of the bands that we reach through Rock Band Network.
And isn't it true? I'm not sure. Like, people find their music most now through video.
We've been hearing a lot of that.
Hearing that.
I was wondering if you guys know anything more about that than I do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have, you know, almost 1,500 songs in Rocket.
1,700 after today.
Wow.
So 2,000 songs by year's end, like a lot of stuff, and it's always such a great charge to like spend a lot of time on the forums to be able to hear from people. I bought Rock Band 2 and knew like 30 of the 84 songs, and now I know all this great stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that like I've picked up on playing Rock Band. It's like, oh, Boston, I don't want to play classic rock over and over. But you start doing these bar nights, and it's like, man, that feeling is awesome. This is super cool. And hopefully, I mean, hopefully more people like pick up on music. I think, you know, wherever people can find it is great.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then, you know, you hear the songs, you start playing rock bands, you start your own bands, and then, you know, you'll go from sleeping on a futon to, you know, being a life around the Warped Tour.
I had a quick question for you. Speaking of generations, like we were talking about before, are there any younger bands on this year's tour that you feel like have a lot of potential or are really interesting?
Like I said, I wish I could say, oh, this band's pretty cool, this band's pretty cool, but there aren't a whole lot. Like, I know they're not even really a new band. All American Rejects are pretty cool. Like, they're like, I get it. They're like, they have songs, they're pop and rock, and they're pretty fun. There's a whole lot of bands out here that I do not connect with. But, like I said, I'm my dad, and that's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Different strokes for
they're
different
doing their
folks.
own thing, and like, it's totally cool.
So who would you recommend that people check out now? Like if they're not bands on the Warped Tour, like what are you guys listening to right now?
People ask me, I love so much of the classic stuff. Like, you know, I listen to the blues. That's where all this stuff comes from, and I'm always like, you know, I could throw out a couple of new things. Listen to Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters. This is where all this came from. It's so fun to find the root of all this rock and roll. And even if you've heard it, I don't even think it never is old to me. I mean, like, in a sense, it's like, you want to hear fresh new music. And I have a craving for that now and then. But I think I've always like, there's so much stuff that happened in the 80s and when I grew up. It's like, that always is inspiring me. Yeah. Everything, like, there's so much different stuff. That whole side of things, and then like hardcore, all the punk that's happening. So that's what I got.
Stick with the classics.
You know what I
There's
mean?
nothing wrong with that.
That's what I got.
You gotta start somewhere. No, I think that's great to hear. I think there's a lot of kids, you know, kind of take that whole like punker than now attitude, and I mean to hear from someone like you, like listen to Muddy Waters. Like I think that's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, and then anyone like those people that have that attitude. I remember when we first started out, blues, blah 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 blah. It's like that's just completely ignorant. And anyone who's playing guitar, you know, you should. Here I'm being like Mr. Teacher Dad, you know.
No, preach on.
But if you really want to know where things come from, it makes it more enriching. It makes it more real. It makes it more. You feel like you're a part of something way bigger when you learn where all this music came from. And I'm just always a proponent of that. That's my thing.
That's amazing. Talking blues. You're at the Warped Tour. Muddy Waters headlining at the main stage tonight. That's fantastic.
It's the hidden thing that's always here. It's always in rock and roll, and it's not always. I mean, old people are into the blues. There's a lot there. It's really awesome, and you hear it in new music too. A lot of kids don't aren't aware of it. They're not aware of it. It's that.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for spending the time talking with us. Greg from the Bouncing Souls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's